morning. You're going to want to rev up your engine for today's visit. My name is David. This is week 15 of 52 churches in 52 weeks. Best way I've heard this described is think of this like church hopping on steroids. So if you'd like to join along for the ride, hit the like button and subscribe. If you hit the bell icon, that will help you be notified of future videos. And I did this 7 years ago and wrote a book about it. So if you want to read about the first 52 churches in 52 weeks, it's on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description box and pinned comment below. So this visit drove 8 hours to Paducah, Kentucky to check out Free Spirit Biker Church. From the first 52 in 52, I went to First Heavy Metal Church of Christ in Dayton, Ohio, and I got the shirt to prove it. So that was such a crazy, wild, memorable experience because it was a church setting that I'd never seen before. With a lot of people, especially from those who may have been drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, strippers, outlaws, ex-convicts. They don't feel comfortable in a traditional church setting. What I learned is with some of these niche churches, and with that one, it would combine Christianity with rock ethos. It would bring in a different type of crowd to kind of focus more on where you're going with the gospel as opposed to where you were in the past. And when I pulled in, it was so different because the hook to be fishers of men is they had just this all black hearse, a paint job full of flames. There were Harley Davidson's motorbikes in the parking lot all over. You get inside, they're playing rock music. The kids are kind of headbanging, doing the sign of the horns, which is so different. Coffee had been replaced by Monster energy drinks. And when it came to the sermon, the pastor would be quoting from Metallica and Judas Priest and merging that into a sermon with Hebrews. Like, it was such a wild experience. But what I learned is it didn't necessarily matter where you came from, it was where you were going. And that's where I really appreciated some of these niche churches that could cater to a demographic, a type of person that, may be covered in tattoos, maybe only prefers to wear black or whatever. And it was a way for them to connect with Christ where they wouldn't get that anywhere else. So for today's visit with this biker church, I checked out a couple different ones, and there's not many, but some of the names are just phenomenal. So like Full Armor Biker Church, Broken Chain Biker Church. With this one, Free Spirit, I'm curious, how does a biker church even get started? And then also, like, what are they doing to reach out to a demographic that traditional or conventional church just can't reach? So going to go inside. I don't think I'm going to get into a bar fight, so I'm going to try not to look at anyone the wrong way. And we'll have some closing thoughts in a little bit.
All my fears like Jericho walls gonna come down. All my fears like Jericho walls gotta come down. Oh Lord, my prison turns to ruin when your love moves in. All my fears like Jericho walls gotta come down.
Got back the other day from Free Spirit Biker Church. Lots of insights and a lot of takeaways. Figure let's just jump straight into this. So out of the box, but in the book. That was a phrase I heard repeated multiple times during my visit. This is not your mama's church, and the common interest with this church was motorcycles. And with a lot of the people that were bringing in, they may be former druggies, alcoholics, or outlaws. And the way that they picked previously in life just wasn't going the right way. And what they wanted to preach was, hey, this is a brotherhood. This is a sisterhood. You can become churchgoers. And with the church, we're going to help out those in need. We're going to help out those who are hungry. And you don't have to ride alone. You can ride with the pack. The story that I got in terms of how this church started, and I talked with two bikers, and they both kind of gave me a little bit of a different story for the origin of the church. But from what I gathered, either the preacher or a group of bikers, or maybe the preacher with a group of bikers, they just had a bunch of trials and tribulations. Things were just not going well, and they decided to make right with God. So go to church. And a lot of the churches out there in Kentucky, very traditional, very conventional. And when you have a bunch of bikers coming in, it ruffles some feathers for those normal type of churchgoers who are dressing up with kids, with family, and a lot of people just felt uneasy about it. So the church, they kind of took them aside and let them know, hey, like attendance is dropping, but we still want to help out. Let's do this instead. So they set up a Bible study with the bikers. That grew and expanded. They were able to get their own rental building and have church services by themselves. That further grew, that further expanded. And I guess a few years ago, they were able to buy their own building with Free Spirit Biker Church for what it is today. When I got there, I would say probably about over a third of the vehicles were motorcycles. The majority were all parked out front, and they were in formation, circled around an American flag sitting at half-mast. The rest of the vehicles were all your four-wheel vehicles. Those are more parked towards the back. When I got to the door, I was greeted by a biker, and it's strange with a biker being a greeter. So it was very stereotypical. He had the black bandana, the beard, goatee, black vest with all the patches and colors, jeans, chain, and he welcomed me in. Obviously, he had a bunch of tattoos too. So when I walked in, I thought I did a pretty good job looking the part with my black shirt, my torn up jeans, but like I didn't have that sun-drenched tan. I didn't have any tattoos, and I could tell right away where they're like I got some looks because it's like I wasn't from around there. Everyone else had a friend or was talking with someone. I was just kind of wandering aimlessly, just trying, looking lost. So I sat down towards the front, and immediately I see up on stage. The stage setup was so interesting. So they had a metal fabricated front end of a motorcycle with the steering wheel, so the pastor could actually put the Bible down on that and read from it. Just looked really, really neat. And there were several different parts of the stage that just had little trinkets added to it, where I'm sure there were some inside stories and jokes that went along with that. Towards the side, there was a wooden cross with a purple robe over it. And then also you had a pool table that was tarped off for the visit. There was one guy that came in that really was interesting. This biker came in, and like he was like a social butterfly, but a butterfly is the wrong thing to say for a biker doing this. Like it was his mission to say, hi, what's your name, to every single person in there. He did not, just start talking and have a conversation for 5 minutes with a friend. He just went all over the place, just making sure that everyone was greeted some different way. Just really, really interesting. I got out my camera and I started taking some photos, but in the past, chronicling and documenting the 52 churches in 52 weeks journey, I've had 2 worship bands kind of freaked out when I had my camera out too long. And for this visit, I did not want to freak out or cause a confrontation for this church. So I looked towards the back and I saw 2 bikers, both with earpieces in, And I figured, well, they look like they know what they're doing. Let me talk with them to let them know, what I'm going to be doing with my camera so I don't freak them out. They weren't concerned about the worship team. So they got me in contact with the pastor just so I could explain what I was doing. And what they were concerned about was not having my camera on anyone in the congregation because someone may have just gotten out of the slammer. They didn't want me coming in and getting a bunch of faces on camera, which makes total sense. And it kind of got me thinking too, where it's like, if someone just did get out of the slammer, you don't know what their past is. You don't know if he's got any kind of enemies. So with the bikers, not only do they serve as greeters, as ushers, but there could be a possibility where they have to serve as bouncers too, if there's any kind of confrontation between, rival type of motorcycle clubs or just someone with a beef over another biker. So you just never know. Worship service started, and it was like a bluegrass rock country kind of vibe to it, just very foot stomping, just like, and they played a lot of contemporary type of worship music. And for me personally, I actually liked the rock country more than the actual songs themselves in the contemporary setting. So that sounded really good. One phrase I also heard repeated multiple times was a prayer and the pledge. A prayer and the pledge. So everyone stood up and gave a prayer for those who needed it. But then also they brought out the American flag. And everyone took off their hat, put their right hand over their heart, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance.
Present arms. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Man.
Patriotism was huge here. So in the very front, you know how typical churches, they usually have like 40 rings of the bell to start a service? I didn't count how many American flags were set out front, but I want to say there had to be close to 40 in itself. And when you looked around, just tons of different flags, like the prisoners of war flag, the don't tread on me flag, military veteran type of flags as well. So patriotism, huge part of this because this is a very blue collar type of community. Another thing that was a little bit different is there was no type of Lord's Prayer or Nicene Creed type of recital that you may get in conventional church. Here, everyone recited Psalm 51:12.
So if you would, please say with me now, restore unto me
The joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Psalm 51:12. Amen.
Hey, y'all sound good.
Thy free spirit, hence the name of the church. So a lot of people, you may have heard of the term anchor verse. So if someone's going through a lot of trials and tribulations, you have that anchor verse to just hold you down with whatever that life throws at you. Anchor is more of a boating analogy. So with this, they kind of more called it a kickstand verse. Because with a kickstand, you just kick it out, you let your motorcycle fall on that, and it holds it upright. So I just like the analogy, especially when it comes to this kind of motorcycle lifestyle. Another fun observation is with the biker ushers. So when offering came, typically you may have an online offering, you go to this website. There could be collection plates. In my past with mega churches, some of them would give out collection buckets. Here, they gave out collection helmets. So, it makes sense because churches back in the day, they probably just took out a hat to serve around collections. Here, it was just a motorcycle helmet. So, just really neat, just the different difference in that with this type of community. When church had wrapped up, everyone was invited to join for a ride. So, it didn't have to be just motorbikes. Anyone with a vehicle could join at the end. So, what happened is all the motorcyclists, they moved from where they had been parked at the front of the church, and they all kind of met in the back near a warehouse, and they just kind of shot the breeze. And eventually, I'd say about 15-20 minutes after church had wrapped up, they all got in line, they all got in formation, and they had one biker that was kind of like at the front to kind of control traffic. And eventually everyone just headed out and they just went for a ride. And that was church. I think my biggest takeaway after visiting this church was with the motorcycle community, it's a brotherhood. And with this type of brotherhood, like, you don't need to ride alone. And so many people are on their own personal highway to hell. They have personal demons when it comes to substance abuse with drugs, alcohol, porn addiction, what have you. And what this church kind of preached was, no, you don't need to ride alone. Come join the pack. Come with us. We're driving down this road to Calvary that Jesus Christ created for us by dying on the cross for all our troubles and tribulations. So you don't need to feel lost. You don't need to feel damned. You don't need to be forgotten. And especially with the dress code, we all may feel like misfits. We all may feel that way of we don't belong. And what this church showed me was some of us just dress our sins and our troubles up differently. So with conventional church, yeah, you may look the part and be showered up and cleaned up before you go to church, but we still have all our issues, no matter where we're coming from. So with this particular biker church, with this church, maybe they don't have coffee after service. Maybe they don't have the same type of Bible study or women's groups or whatever. But no, join us on the ride. We're all grouped together. The church, it can be anyone. So that's week 15 for this 52 churches in 52 weeks. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like to stay up to date, hit the like button and subscribe. And also, if you like to read about the first 52 churches in 52 weeks, that's on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description box below. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for next one.